Live from the Echo Network studios here in Royal Oak, Michigan. This is Odd Musings, and we are Brett Pinson.
And Scott Zambelli.
And we're here with a very special episode with you guys this week, episode 8. We're going to be talking about Tommy Castillo today, a good friend of the show. He's not looking too good, unfortunately, and his wife Sammy's going to call him a little bit here. But we've had a lot of things going on just before that, though. Scott was down in Heroes Con this past weekend and had a convention there, and I did a grad party. We're going to talk about that, but first we need to get to our sponsors. So we want to knock these guys out early because if we get talking to Sammy, this may go the entire hour. So today's show is sponsored by T-24.com. That is TEEMINUS24.com. And they have unique pop culture t-shirts and vinyl decals. Those watching on Facebook Live can see that Scott and I are both wearing shirts from them today. Scott's got his Palpatine Vader, and I've got my Tashi Station, an online exclusive, which you can order online at T-24.com. Also, debuted last week was Scott Zambelli designed t-shirt, The Many Moods of Groot, and you can definitely order that. And they were doing a special over the weekend. I don't know if that's still going on or not.
Honestly, I was out of town for Heroes Con, so I'm like 3 days behind right now on all my emails and stuff. I'm like,
well, they posted on
I'm
Facebook.
Getting caught up. I'm like, oh, look, the shirt came out. I didn't even know it.
They posted on Facebook over the weekend while they were at Awesome Con that they were doing a $15 special.
Nice.
And that may be over, so don't quote me on the price, but you can definitely use your code ODD, ODD, to get 10% off your entire purchase. And don't forget to follow them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all the social medias under T-24. And they always post about their latest designs and share updates from the conventions that they attend. We know we'll see them next month at the Tampa Bay Comic-Con.
Yes, we will.
And then you've got Chubby Duck today.
Chubby Duck, but hold on. Go ahead and do Loringer because my phone is... It had the video streaming and it delayed.
Yeah. And we're also sponsored by Loringer Family Chiropractic. Your journey to wellness begins here. Build a healthy lifestyle with chiropractic care. At Loringer Family Chiropractic Center, PC, they take great pride in providing the finest chiropractic care to each and every patient. They offer on-site digital x-rays, massage therapy, orthotics, essential oils, aromatherapy, a full line of vitamins, and a family-oriented environment. As you all know, this is my personal chiropractor. They take care of me every week from injuries I sustained years ago in a car accident, and I can never promote them enough. They're just great people. Call them at 734-697-4244. They're located in Belleville, Michigan, Dexter, Michigan. If you're not anywhere near there, give them a call anyways, and they can refer you to somebody near them because they know chiropractors all over the country.
And then we also have the Chubby Duck. They're located in the heart of Detroit. And the Chubby Duck Detroit is working to bring the freshest local ingredients together with a little Motown soul to create a new and sustainable food tradition that everyone can afford to enjoy. And you can visit them on Facebook if you look up Chubby Duck Detroit. You'll find them there. They're always posting. They've been going through. They've gotten a new chef in who with a lot of great experience, and they've been creating some new food items for their menus and posting a lot of pictures on there, along with some great reviews they've been getting. So check them out. And when you're in downtown Detroit, definitely see what they're about and taste their food.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. We're going to try to make a trek down there next month and take Connie the Comic-Con mom with us as we talked about before. And we have a caller coming in, and maybe Sammy already.
All right.
Hello. Do we have our caller? Is the caller gone?
Still on there, but
Okay, because I can't hear her.
yeah, then they hung up.
Okay.
All right, Sammy, if you're listening, call back. All right, and moving forward though, hopefully the call will come through this next time.
Yeah.
We have. So I was this last weekend. I was in Heroes Con in Charlotte, and got to take my daughter with me, and that was a good weekend. We had a good time down there. It was Father's Day weekend, which made it a little extra special that she was able to come with me. So we had a good time. The food was great down there. I posted a review on our YouTube channel, so if you're subscribed on there, you would have seen it. Found this nice little restaurant. It was the grand opening. It just happened to be. And it was called 90s Ice Cream and Sandwiches. And they make an actual ice cream sandwich. Like, they have this giant donut. They make in their bakery. Mm-hmm. They cut it in half. And, well, they do this flash frying. So the outside is hot, but the inside is cold. Okay. So the ice cream doesn't melt. But it's warm when you're holding it. And they drizzle condensed milk over it for the glaze.
Okay.
Oh my God, that was good. It was probably 5,000 calories, but wow, it was good. So if you go to YouTube, I posted a quick review of that, and you'll see me holding it. It was nighttime, so a little hard to see, but wow, it was good.
Well, it sounds good.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing I like about North Carolina when I've been down there for shows is the food is, I always found some good food down there.
Definitely.
I mean, we find good food everywhere. I mean, that's
Another awesome thing I got to do down there was got to meet R2KT, which, for those who don't know, R2KT is a pink astromech droid that looks like R2D2.
Yep.
And she was created in honor of Albin Johnson, the founder of 501st. His daughter had this horrible disease and illness that struck her, and she passed away. But in the process of her fighting her battle, she wanted an R2 unit to watch over her.
yes.
And so the 501st got together, made R2KT, and it was a really nice story, but it's grown into its own thing now.
Well, they've had actual official toys come out. They've done patchwork with it.
That exact droid was actually in episode 7,
Yes.
The Force Awakens. They were invited out there, so they flew out there. They got to be on set.
Yeah, it was one of the background droids.
Yeah, the scene when one of the scenes was when Poe lands and BB-8 first reunites with him.
Yeah.
You see R2KT in the background going by, which, you know, for those who like the Easter eggs and finding things like that, it was really fun.
I think it's a great tribute to not just the 501st and everything else, but to Katie, the person that inspired the droid.
Yeah, she inspired it, and so if you go on to YouTube, you'll see that. Also, the r2kt.com you can read more about Katie Johnson, who inspired the droid, her story, and more about the R2 unit's story too, how it's grown over the years. So very cool to actually see the droid in person and meet those people.
I've seen R2KT at shows. I haven't been able to get right up close because a lot of times I'm just too busy, and that's really cool to get a chance to go and talk to them a little bit.
Yeah, that was really cool, and for me as a 501st member, it was cool, especially cool because the North Carolina garrison is actually the origin of the 501st.
Okay.
So it was cool meeting the people there, and unfortunately Alvin Johnson wasn't able to be there that weekend. He lives in Texas now, but so we were joking how we should make a Albin Johnson in carbonite that we have, and we can bring around whenever he can't make an appearance. We just say he's in carbonite.
Make it an auto pen. You can sign autographs.
Yeah. Have a little hand sticking out of the carbonite with a pen.
Yeah.
And then you also had something this weekend.
Yeah, my cousin's youngest graduated high school, and they asked if I would do some of the cooking. And between my mom and I, we did 67 pounds of pork, way more than what we needed, but we wanted extras for the freezer. And then did 10 trays of my smoked mac and cheese, which I've talked about before, which you've had.
Yes, very, very delicious.
And then we did a whole mess of sloppy joes.
Ooh.
And that was good. Mom did her spicy chicken nachos, which were a big hit. We had a good time. This is family to us. She's not just a cousin. It was my mom's best friend's daughter, and we've done this for them for years, and they are a true family to us.
Nice.
And they're very close. And we lost Wendy. It's been almost 5 years now. 5 years coming in September to breast cancer. So I've done some different things on the side to kind of help with breast cancer awareness, stuff like that. But as family goes, they're some of the truest family you could ever have. And Cindy's also one of the ones that goes with Mom and I to the plays that we talked about like last week too. So we're really close on that.
Right.
And so it was good to be there with them all day. It was hot. We had fans going. We were in the garage kind of covering the food. People were like, well, just go in the house. It was like, well, I don't want to get too cool, come out and too hot, and you go back and forth. But it didn't bother me too much. We had a great time talking with people. It was nice talking. Some people asked me about how I smoke things, what I do, and the smokers I use, stuff like that. And so that was kind of fun to kind of discuss that. So I had a good time doing that. So. And then,
well, and talking about family and illness, being artists on the road and stuff. Today's show, we're going to be focusing on Tommy Castillo.
Yeah.
And he's been battling. He's had diabetes. He was diagnosed when? 15.
I know as a child.
As a child,
I don't know the exact age.
Okay.
But he's fought diabetes his whole life. I don't know the type that he had. If Sammy's able to call in. We'll ask her, maybe ask her that too.
Yeah, she should be calling in soon. We're planning on 10 after 10, so hopefully she can make it in here.
But we know with things going on, it's tough.
Yeah, but just to introduce people to the topic as a whole, Tommy's been fighting over the last couple of years, the diabetes has really taken a toll on him.
Yeah, it's affected his system from his kidneys to his eyesight, to his, he lost a leg recently.
Yeah, they had to amputate.
We had a chance to go visit with them. We'll probably talk with Sam a little more about this too, is back in 2015 at their house, we were doing mini MegaCon.
Yeah.
And Tommy had just got back into painting after not being able to paint for a while because his eyes had just gone out on him. And,
Oh yeah, that was amazing when we saw his setup, how he had like 4 or 5 magnifying glasses hooked up over each other to magnify it so big so he could see it. And even then he was still making insane. His artwork, while practically blind, still blows away most people's art.
Oh, yeah.
He was amazing.
He's a true master artist,
Yeah.
and while he had some training, one of the stories was he was a freestyle bicyclist. He did the BMX and stuff like that back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Him and I talked about it because we both there's a movie we both like called Rad, and come to find out, Tommy did some stunt work in that when he was doing the freestyle bike work in that. So
Right.
while he's not credited in the credits, there's quite a few guys that there said, "Hey, we need somebody to go do this," and he would go do it.
Yeah,
Because
and-
he's a daredevil, always has been.
And for those who don't know who Tommy Castillo is too, professionally, he's an amazing artist. He has a huge list of credits. If I remember correct, he once told me he is actually listed as the most published artist. I think is one of his titles. Like he's been published in the most things or something.
That I'm not positive on. I got a list of his credits that I was able to find online just to have some reference because he's done so much over the years.
Right.
And he's done everything from comic books to artwork for like Rolling Stone magazine. He's been showcasing just about anything and everything you can think of. He's had something there. He's done movie work, storyboard work, things like that. So he's had his hand in the industry all through really the entertainment industry.
Caller.
We have a caller?
Yep.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Hi,
Hey.
Sammy. Welcome to the show.
Hi, everyone.
How's it going, Sammy? Is Scott here and Brett.
Yep. We've been just kind of chatting a little bit about Tommy a little bit and some of his life's accomplishments and all the great things he's done.
Oh, yeah, wonderful.
Scott was just asking a question or mentioning a statement that Tommy mentioned he was one of the most published artists out there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Hold on, I had to make a cup of coffee to be coherent.
I believe that was a title he had told me before, though. He's actually listed as the most published artist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it was from, to remember the exact date, it was actually for the decade. So it was for 2000, I think to 2000, or it was 2001 to 2011, I think it was.
Okay.
And it was right as I met him. It's Guinness Book of World Records. So when he jumped on the Strathmore covers,
Okay.
he did the 500 series Bristol and the sketchbook cover. That's got each of those is because it's print considered publication.
Oh, okay.
So he actually out-published the entire comic book industry with one of those covers. The Green Recycled sketchbook that the Strathmore Green Recycled sketchbook that you guys would see at like Michael Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
The initial printing of that was the initial order was 142 million worldwide.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and for a long time until he jumped on the Strathmore covers, it was him and Thomas Kincaid that were kind of neck and neck. But with fraudulent things and Tommy being on another cover,
Yeah.
Tommy kind of outsourced all of them. I don't remember what the final number was for the decade, but it was pretty effing ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like the guy, like it was, I don't know, it was like a couple hundred million. It was
Yeah.
like 432 million copies of whatever.
But that fits. Doesn't that fit Tommy as a whole? Go big or go home, right?
Yeah.
That's
That's right.
that's Tommy.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I posted this week.
Inspiration is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't want one organ to fail. You wanted
Yeah, and to get into what he's going through right now, how is Tommy? How's Tommy feeling right now?
I don't know. Can I swear on this show?
You know what? Oh, we already made a warning, so you say whatever you need to say, hon.
Yeah.
And don't, just for you know, everybody, this,
It'd be really shitty.
okay.
It is pretty rough. He's not doing good.
Right.
Yesterday was a bad day. He was pretty adamant all day. And by adamant, I mean mostly sleeping, and when he's awake, he's sort of half unresponsive. And that's a combination between the heavy pain meds he's under and the liver failure. The liver failure does it, because he's on dialysis, so
Right.
we've got that covered. I always thought it was going to be kidneys, but apparently, surprise, liver. So, everything that your liver does is now no longer doing, which is where the brain bleed came from, and it's just, it's really rough. It's really rough, because he'll have moments where he's clear, and then he'll have moments where Michael Golden came and visited us,
Okay.
and, yesterday, and, Michael was introducing everybody, and, at first I was like, no, because he looked at Michael when he was introducing himself to everybody that was at the house,
Yeah.
and, Tommy looked at me and goes, who are you? So, he still does, he still has his jokes when he can. He still gets those little jokes in, but it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Well, and that's part of
the
the
hardest thing I've ever done.
part of the reason having this here is one is kind of update what's going on. We know it's a grave situation, and we're not taking light of that. We wanted to
Well,
talk about our
I
friend.
believe if you can't laugh at it, then it'll make you fall down and
Well,
get back up.
And the thing is, I know he's laughed at it because we've talked about it personally, him and I, and at different times over the last few years, especially the things going on.
Oh, yes.
And the thing about Tommy is, and I want our listeners to know, is that he's a fighter, and he's not going down without a fight. The best thing is he's got the best ring person in the world with Sammy. For those that know, I consider her my sister. She is a true friend, a true sister. It started off as a semi-joke, which I'm not going to get into, so nobody gets in trouble. But I helped him get a discount somewhere, and that. But Sammy has always been a good friend, along with Tommy, to me and to my mom. And the thing I wanted to do today, Sammy, is just we want to talk about Tommy and his accomplishments. I want you to, if there's any fun stories you want to tell us some stories about him. And we want to make sure that the love's going out there, and people also know that they can go to youcaring.com, search Tommy Castillo, and donate to help you guys out. Because I know you got medical expenses mounting up, and Scott and I talked. We thought this was the best way we could help to get that word out there.
Yeah, and just so people know, when you go to youcaring.com, Tommy Castillo, it's spelled Tommy, and Castillo, Castillo.
Yeah.
When you're doing the search.
I left up the kidney transplant one.
Yeah.
Only because I just couldn't bring myself to sit down and write.
Right.
I think that's
Like I said in my video, if you haven't seen it on Facebook, I just couldn't bring myself to do it, and I tried, and I still can't.
Yeah.
I'm like, nope, just leave that one up. It's fine.
I think that works just fine. I think everybody understands. It's
Right.
with everything you guys had going the last several months with dealing with the kidneys alone, you've been kind of out of communication with a lot of the world. I know people talk to you here and there, and so I think leaving that's just fine. So I wouldn't stress about that myself.
Right.
So
Yeah, we been the last couple of months. I mean, well, he was in the hospital pretty much all of May, but before
Right.
that, it was it was 2-3 doctor's visits a week, and it's really wearing and draining. I mean, and I felt bad for Tom because at that point, he's starting to lose strength, and transferring to the wheelchair, he needed constant help, and
Yeah.
he was really frustrated. So
Yeah, last I saw him was the Greater Philadelphia Comic-Con there.
Yeah.
Was that the last
That
show
was
he
the
did?
last show he
Was it?
okay.
Yeah, and
that,
he looked like he was not comfortable at that show.
no.
Yeah.
Now going back a little farther though, Now, over the years, you've kind of learned to become a nurse there. You practically have a medical degree with how much you've learned on the job with Tommy. It's pretty amazing, actually, I think, because it's been about 2 years now. When did his eyesight first start going? Was it 2 years ago?
2004, end of 2013,
Yeah.
beginning of 2014.
Yeah. So, and all these road trips you do, you would be driving to, and you had to learn to give them the
Yeah.
shots and everything. How was that like with driving across the country doing all that?
You know, it was, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it was hard, like, especially when we drive cross country to San Diego, right?
Right. Because you were limited to how many hours you could drive, correct?
Yeah. Say that again?
Like in past years, you would like pretty much, troop it out and, power through it all.
Oh, yeah.
But now you were limited to like 6-hour increments or something.
Well, yeah, so because of Tommy's dialysis last year, and because Tommy made me promise, because I would just drive, no
Right.
big deal, just go. And, but because Tommy needed to get his dialysis at night, we would have to stop every night. Not that we didn't before, but I would have to stop at like 9, 10 o'clock instead of like maybe at midnight.
Right.
So with traveling, the most exhausting part really was when we stopped, because I had to unload the dialysis machine,
Oh, yeah.
dialysis supplies. I had to unload all of that. And normally you can get your stuff mailed wherever with the dialysis stuff. You can call them and say, hey, I'm going to be at this hotel on this date, and I need this.
Yeah.
But the hard part with that is, I personally don't trust people, because everything needs to be closed and super what they call aseptic or sterilized.
Right.
So if some, for lack of a better way to say it, employee worker decides they're going to open up a bunch of bags and see what the F is in those bags
Right.
or in the boxes, that completely contaminated what Tommy can use.
Right.
And you could get a really horrible, painful infection.
Yeah, and that's definitely a problem that happens out there. So,
So I would just bring everything, and it would end up being like an extra like 400 or 500 pounds of solution and supplies, because each bag is 5,000 milliliters. So I think that's like 7 pounds.
Yeah, and when you're doing a road trip to San Diego, that's easily 2 weeks round trip, easily.
Easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and we would have to I took an extra day out there. But, with the chopping and everything, I really, for Tommy, tried to be as upbeat and nonchalant and relaxed and groovy as possible, because, yeah, I might be exhausted, but he feels like utter dog shit because he can't help.
Right.
He just can't. He doesn't have the strength, or he didn't have the vision, and he felt worse having to be driven cross country and
Right.
not being able to help me.
Well, and Tommy's always been very independent.
yeah,
He is
he's a go-getter.
always been
Correct.
super independent.
Right.
And his independence being taken away, one, speaks volumes of what's going on, but two, it got to, in the beginning, he was really kind of irritated and upset, and then when he realized there was, more to it than just, me trying, it's more out of love from my end than anything.
Right.
Then it was me and Sam. Like, Sam had to do it. Nobody else could do it. Only Sam.
Right.
Like, even still, when we were in the hospital, the nurses would come in to help clean him up, and he's like, no, my wife will do it. He was very adamant about that.
Right.
But that's truly Tommy. I think I've never seen anybody. There's very few people in the world I see that love someone as much as Tommy loves you, and
Yeah.
for the trust he's put in you over the years, especially these last few years, is evident in everything I've seen around him. And I could definitely see him tell him, "No, my wife will do it. Only my wife."
Yeah.
Of course,
Only my wife.
he's Tommy. He's kind of a golden god. He's like, only one that can touch this that's worthy is my wife.
Yep.
Makes me feel good.
Yeah.
It puts a little bit of pressure on me.
It's a little bit, but
I can live up to it.
yes, you can.
But yeah, going back to what Scott said, where I kind of have become a nurse. You know, it all stemmed from the first time Tommy was hospitalized for the kidney failure. And you know, it was the first situation that was really bad that he had to go to the hospital, and I didn't know what was going on, and I felt horribly helpless, and I trusted the doctors, and they handled it really terribly, but I didn't have the information to fight back at them or to even control them. So I was left kind of with palms up, so to speak. And what I'm referring is, he had when your kidneys fail, that your kidneys filter out your potassium and phosphorus and all that fun stuff in your blood.
Yeah.
That would normally poison you. And your potassium is supposed to be like 2. His potassium level was 6.4, which is what normally they would raise a prisoner's potassium to with a lethal injection.
Right.
They use potassium chloride as lethal injection. Tommy's was like 6.5, which is astronomical and life-threatening. So what they should have done was put him on dialysis temporarily. What they did was flood his system with fluids and let him try and pee or excrete it out.
They were trying to
But
dilute
he had-
it enough for his kidneys to
he had-
function.
Correct. But he had no kidney function. He had
Right.
10% kidney function. So all they did was add, so let's see, he went in at 175, 180 pounds.
Yeah. And
And
then
he came out at 5 days later at 220. And it was all
water
fluid.
weight.
They
Yeah.
put 40 pounds of fluid on him.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know that was bad. And when we went to the doctor and we switched nephrologist is a kidney doctor. We switched kidney doctors because I did not like the one that we had. She was terrible. And I switched to our current kidney doctor, who is a badass, and his name is Khan. His last name's Khan. Yep.
That's perfect.
And that took me all of about 2 weeks of having his cell phone before I cracked a Khan joke.
I was curious how long it would take.
Oh yeah, I wanted to do it like the next day, like literally when I met him. I'm like, Khan, but
Did he walk around with
He
his
was very
chest
serious.
bare chested like Ricardo
I
Montalban?
I had to gauge his humor, but he's a really funny guy. But so then he explained to me he explained to us that was wrong. Like you shouldn't have done that.
Right.
And from that point on, I realized that while doctors may know more, they are not necessarily right or correct. They're not
True.
necessarily correct in it. And that's when I started doing, researching. They would explain, Tommy has this. And when he went to sleep, I would stay up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning researching the heck out of, what hemochromatosis was or what dialysis is. The first day he started dialysis, you're supposed to get training, but he was emergency start, so he started in the hospital. And the first night, the machine alarmed, and the nurse didn't know how to turn it off. You follow the screen prompts. It's kind of silly, but you turn it off and there you go. But I downloaded the 200-page manual and read it while we were at the hospital, so that I knew how to work the machine. Because it was, I just didn't trust people to have maybe not some of the information, but all of the information.
Right.
And nobody else was going to be a better advocate for Tommy than I was.
No.
But I have a funny story which
Go ahead.
leads into our conversation. So Tommy was emergency start. Basically what that means is he was hospitalized and they started dialysis in the hospital. And Dr. Khan's partner is Dr. Ahmed. And it picture like the stereotypical Indian accent, okay? And I'm not going to do it, but it's very funny. And he's an older gentleman, and he comes in, and he looks at the paperwork, you know, and he looks at Tommy, and he goes, he's like, by these numbers, you should be dead. And Tommy looks up at him, and he's like, sorry to disappoint. And he looks at Tommy, he puts his paperwork away, folds it up, puts his hands on his hips, Superman style, and he goes, you must be one tough son of a bitch. And that was our introduction into the hospital we continued to go with, you know, for our entire medical saga. And, you know, Dr. Abed and Dr. Khan, you know, saved my husband's life. They're badasses in their own right, you know.
That's awesome.
Well, Tommy is a tough son of a bitch, as you said. You know, him and I talking a few years back, he talked about when he was doing the freestyle BMX racing back when he was a teenager, and how he got into art was when he broke his leg, and they basically just wheeled him into the art room because that's the only place they could put him. And here's a pencil, here's paper. And they started, you know, he started drawing from there, and from there the legend was kind of born, really, at 15, the artist.
When Tommy...
Yeah, well...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, yeah, well, he didn't just break his leg. He shattered he broke the strut to his toes, shattered his ankle, broke his leg, dislocated his knee, and he severed the nerve clot up in his hip when he landed. So he was actually, his right leg...
Just breaking the leg would have been too easy for him.
Yet again, Tommy has to show everybody up.
Yeah, just breaking the leg alone would have been too easy.
Go big or go home.
Right.
Yeah.
Guys, know him and I talked about it, and I know I got you guys a copy of that movie Rad. He did some stunt work for that before he broke his leg, and so I mean, Tommy's had such a just a storied life, and how he got into art and everything else.
Yeah, when
Larger
Tommy,
than life.
when he was starting out, he apprenticed under who did he apprentice under? I'm blanking on. Didn't he apprentice under? That was his Frank.
Yep.
Yes.
Which I mean,
that's amazing in and of itself. That to know some, you know, that because when you told me about that before, I was like, wow. And he shared some of the stories of working with him, and it was like, wow, it's just amazing to get that kind of stuff.
And it's evident in the artwork you see Tommy does. He's got such a feel of Rosetta, but it's still all true Tommy Castillo.
Correct.
Yeah, you feel what Frank always put, and that was the power and the emotion. And Tommy, you know, I call it a school, but, you know, Frank followed in the lineage of the great American illustrators, starting with Howard Pyle, going back into the late 1800s. Howard Pyle had a school in Delaware, and then his student was N.C. Wyeth, and if you don't know who any of those are, go Google it, because they're amazing.
Right.
And they settled in Chadsford, Pennsylvania. So there's a whole museum based for those guys, the Brandywine River Museum, that Tommy and I would always go to when we were in Pennsylvania or within spitting distance, which is, you know, 6 hours. And we're like, oh, we're kind of close, let's just go up. You know, that type of illustration, you know, is really rather lost because of the digital age and the fact that everybody wants everything now, and it's quickest and easiest. And you know, I'll be the first to admit that I was a child of digital before I met Tommy. I went and worked on video games for about 7 years, and I was a Photoshop. I'm still a Photoshop nut, but what I learned is, you know, there is no comparison between traditional and digital. You know, you can spend forever, you know, and I did texture work, so my job was to make stuff look real when it wasn't. And, you know, you could spend 4 hours on a coffee stain, but you know what? Nothing's going to look more like a coffee stain than a fucking coffee stain. No matter how much Photoshop you use. And that's the thing, like, you know, when artists come up to the table, Tommy doesn't dislike digital. Let me put it this way. He always said, it's a tool.
Right.
Exactly.
It's another crayon in the spectrum of crayons.
Right.
And you would be foolish to, A, not use a tool, and B, use only one tool.
Exactly.
It'd be like painting with only yellow. You need to have all the colors. And, Frazetta, and quite honestly, Frazetta and Tommy fall in that American Illustrators lineage.
Yes.
We were actually talking last year with the curator of the Brandywine River Museum to get Tommy's paintings put up, and put in that museum. And guys, that's always been a dream of his, to have his paintings hanging with N.C. Wyeth and Howard Pyle. And the funny thing is that they won't put, the reason Frazetta made his own museum was because they wouldn't put his paintings in that museum, even though he follows under that school of painting.
Right.
Because they're like, it's too modern. It's like 1960s, too modern.
Yeah.
But luckily they switched curators. They switched a lot. So, and like I said, we talked with the curator, the now head curator, I believe, and they wanted to put the Strathmore paintings on display. So, we'll see if we can get that rolling in the next year or so for Tommy.
Yeah,
I know he'll like that wherever he is.
Yes.
When I was a young and budding artist, I remember going up to Tommy and asking for him to check out my art, because I knew enough about him at the time. I didn't know him personally back then, but I knew enough about him. He was kind of like the Simon Cowell of American Idol, where he would give you an honest but rough opinion.
Yes.
But I knew that going into it, so I wanted his opinion on it, and he was honest. He's like, "Oh, it's crap," but he told me why, and he's like, "Look at your lighting. Your light sources. Your shadows are all over. Your light sourcing isn't right," and that stuck with me. And it's like, and moving forward from that, I was able, because I'm self-taught. I think one of the big problems with art today is there are no apprenticeship programs out there now.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I learned a lot from Tommy's advice.
But Tommy kind of did his own apprenticeship. I know there's quite a few people out there in the industry that he's mentored. Like, I saw his name popped the other day. Chris Marino is one of the big ones he mentored recently.
Chris Marino, and Chris was just here this past weekend, and he is a project. He is the art director of one of the project development teams in Disney. So he develops stuff that we may never ever see.
Right.
And in order to do that in Disney, you gotta have. And Chris is self-taught. He listened to Tommy.
Right.
Anyone that's ever listened to Tommy has gone on to do bigger and better things.
Definitely, his advice definitely helped me, and helped me to, I was able to fine tune, and I took those to heart, the things he said.
Yeah.
And
I was Tommy's apprentice.
Yeah.
Before we started dating and got married.
Before you became his boss.
Now
I thought I should graduate.
Now is that how you guys met? Was it as you were his student?
Yeah. So we met April of 2010. I had just decided that I was done with video game design, and I wanted to be an illustrator. And I had moved to Florida a couple months before, and around the corner, I had known Tommy's art from when I was a kid, from Blackout Comics. So if anybody knows Blackout Comics, you can just imagine how old that was. Throughout, because I collected comic books since I was a little kid with my pop, and so I went to a class being held by Tommy Castillo. And I had never met him before, and this big military Jeep, I'll tell you from start to finish. So I'm driving up, and I'm about to make a right-hand turn only, in a right-hand only lane, and this big military Jeep cuts me off, almost like running me off the road. And it pulls a couple spaces, it backs in a couple spaces down for me. And I'm looking at this guy like, that's such a cool Jeep. What an asshole. And I'm looking at the guy through my mirror, or through my driver window, and he's kind of looking at me. And then he gets out and opens the back. And I get out, and I realize that it's Tommy Castillo. And I'm holding one of his Strathmore Bristol pads. So it's pretty pretty obvious why I'm there, because he's holding the class.
Yeah.
And I walk up to him, and in my head, I said, "Hi, how are you?" But instead, I shouted at him like a little kid, and I went, "Hi, how are you?" And I proceeded to bounce up and down, really excited, completely starstruck, or whatever you want to call it. And he kind of was smiling, and he nodded, and he was like, "I'm fine. How are you?" And I said, I'm good. I'm going to go inside right now." And I pretty much sprinted 3 steps into the doorway, like, to the shop. And the entire class, I could tell you now what he taught, because I've sat in the class, and I myself have partially taught the class. But that first day, learning, whatever from him, I have no effing clue what I learned, because all I did was stare at him in class. I was so googly-eyed at him. I wasn't even paying attention to what I was drawing. All I remember is one of the exercises, and this was an 8-hour class, and all I remember is he made us draw gorillas, and then he explained, like, how to concept an idea for a painting and tell a story. So it was like, but I don't remember the details of it. I just remember him explaining his who, what, where, and when. I was like, who, what, where, how, and when. That was it. And so I googly-eyed him the whole class through like shit. Like, it's just like, oh, and at the end of the class, which I know now years later, but at the end of the class, he told a bunch of the students that he was going to take students in his home and teach classes from his house to just earn some extra cash. And I sprinted across the seminar room. And I'm like, really? Really? You are? When does that start? So he told everybody to give me their information, and I contacted him. And years later, after we were married, I found out that he actually had no intention of really teaching any sort of classes, but he thought I was so cute and wanted to get to know me, and he decided that he was going to make an excuse for me to come over. So,
Nice.
and that's,
Well,
that is how we met.
That's kind of funny, because I know how bold and brazen Tommy can be. For him to be this kind of love struck right away with you is really awesome, and shows kind of the character of Tommy too.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I'm, you know me and my hilarious celebrity stories, so I don't get struck by anybody.
Right.
Mostly because I don't know who the fuck they are.
Yeah, Chris Evans was talking about that recently, so.
Oh, yeah, right?
She never knows me. Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's how we met, and pretty much, and most people don't know this, but all of our major stories, of how things went were like that, were like that, and it wasn't, we never subscribed to the traditional grandiose things. It was what was special to us, what meant things to us, and it just happened to turn into, picture perfect love story moments, which were not so picture perfect, but had love behind them. And I'll give you the perfect example is how he asked me to marry him.
Okay, I want to hear this.
Yeah, definitely.
Most people don't know this story. So a year before, when my parents came to visit, so this was 2011, he had asked my parents for permission to marry me. He took them out to lunch and asked. And he believed that he wanted to do what was right. And what was right was asking permission first, not just jumping in. Because if he had a son, he would want his son to be proper and to do things properly. So he asked my parents' permission, and of course they said yes. My mom got all teary-eyed, and he says, I want to wait a year, and then I want to ask her. And my parents love him, so they were like, yes, definitely. So we come back from the first Wizard World New Orleans. I think that was in 2012. And January 2012. And we were both sick as hell because they had just redone the convention center. So we had like con crud plus
Yeah,
Arena Crud.
I did that. I did that show. I had the con crud too. I know what you're talking about.
Right?
Yep.
So it was like an upper respiratory infection because all the mold and everything that was just in the air and all that. So, Tommy was sick, super, super sick. And I was still working part-time at the print shop that I was working at.
Yeah.
And I knew he was sick, but I still needed to pay my bills. And I was not taking, at the time I was not taking a full, I wasn't taking his money and paying my bills. I was paying my bills with my money, to clarify if anybody was curious. And so I was still working the print shop job. And I left, even though I was sick as hell. And Tommy was laying on the couch, fever oozing, snot oozing from his nose, coughing, hacking, and he's like, I don't want you to go to work. And I said, I have to go to work. And I left. And I ended up spiking a fever when I got there. And since it was a family-owned operation, and they were older people, she was a mother of like 5, 6, something like that. So she goes, you have a fever. I said, maybe. And she goes, and they took my temperature, and they go, you have 102 fever. Go home. And I said, okay. So I went home, and instead of going home, because this was when Tommy's neuropathy and stuff, his feet were real bad. I thought I'd surprise Tommy because he felt like dog shit, and I felt like dog shit, but I wanted to do something nice. So I drove to the Florida Mall from Castleberry, Winter Park. So that's like an hour drive. And I drove all the way down there to Brookstone because Tommy always put his feet in this foot massager and foot and calf massager. And he always did it and never bought it. Like, he would sit there for like an hour in it. And I'm like, just buy it. It's only this much. Just buy it. He's like, it's okay. So I bought it. Now, this thing's probably only like 10 pounds, but when you have 102 fever and you're sick, it might as well been me trying to roll a boulder up a hill.
Right.
So I cleared this thing out, and I come back into the house, and I get there mid-morning, and I come in with this box, and he sits up, and he starts crying. And I look at him, and I'm like, are you crying because I got you a gift, or are you crying because I'm home? He didn't want me to go to work. He felt so terrible. And he just hugs me, and he goes, I don't know. So I opened the box and everything for him, and he's so happy with what, the foot massager and everything. And I lay him back down, and he looks at me and he says, I want to ask you to marry me every day. And I said, today is a good day. And he goes, but I don't have a ring. I can't get on one knee. And right now, I have nothing. And I said, that's okay. And he goes, Sammy, will you marry me? And I smiled, and I said, yes. Now I'm going to go get you some medicine. And that is how we got engaged.
That's nice.
I think it's an awesome story.
Well, I think it also shows the love is the center of your relationship, and it's not about the things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what makes it so special.
Mm-hmm. My first engagement ring was actually a washer he found in a box. We bought from a surplus store. Well, because he had like 3 plans. He had 3 different engagement plans, and they all fell through. And one of them was an antique ring. The other was a custom ring. And then finally, like when he asked me, he wanted someone that the ring wasn't important. It was what the ring symbolized.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For probably about 2 months, I didn't actually have an engagement ring. And we go to a surplus, an industrial surplus store called Skycraft. If anybody's ever been in Winter Park and they've built things on their own, Skycraft is like heaven. Because it's got all surplus stuff, from Disney and NASA. It's got a big UFO on the top of the building. It's pretty awesome. So he bought this beat-up audio-visual box because he liked how it looked, and he put art supplies in it. and it had a little, it had a little washer in it, and I have a size 4.5 ring, which is absolutely tiny. And he comes in, and I remember this, I was actually putting the Dark Side of Oz art book together, and because we were rushing to get it finished for San Diego that year. So he comes in, and he says, put your hand out for a minute. And I put my hand out, and he slides this washer on. It's a stainless steel washer. And he goes, there you go. And I said, what's this? And he goes, it's a washer. It's your engagement ring. And I said, that's awesome. So I had a washer engagement ring for probably about 6 or 7, probably about 6 months. I ended up having to take it off because I was wearing it so much, it was rubbing off the coating, and when I would wash my hands, it was starting to rust. And I was like, I love this ring, but I don't want to get tetanus.
Yeah, you don't want
I
that.
ended up having to take it off. I was like, I love you, but not tetanus. So.
Yeah. Well, we're getting close to the end of our show here, Sammy, and I think that's a great story for us to end with you on that. Anything last thing you want to share with our audience?
Well, I'm actually about to post this up because, Tommy's sister-in-law, Teresa, if you guys haven't noticed, have been posting her favorite photos of Tommy.
Yeah.
And so including the all-impressive 14-year-old graduation photo.
Yes, that was rather cool.
Everybody's seen it.
Yes.
So what I want to, I'm going to probably do a video today or tomorrow, but for those of you that are listening, you guys can get a head start. I want you guys to find your favorite Tommy photos, or if he did commissions for you guys, if you guys just stood behind the booth and snapped some photos of us, far away, close up, you were with us, you weren't, and post them up to his, either his fan page or his personal page, which you can tag, or my page, because I'd like to get a whole album together, of,
Very cool.
Tommy and fans.
Yeah.
Kind of pay tribute to everything he's done. And my video's got almost 150,000 views in less than a week.
Yeah.
So,
Do you want us
there's
to?
a lot of people out there.
Where do you want them to post those pictures? On your Facebook, on Tommy's
Yeah, Facebook is fine.
Facebook.
Okay.
So,
On mine, on Tommy's. If
So-
you want to tag us both, that's great.
Yeah.
and you're listed on Facebook as Samantha P. Castillo. To find you
Castillo,
on there.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely
As soon as
tag
you
you
type
guys.
me up, I pop up.
There you
If
go.
you type Tommy, I pop up right next to him, so.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
definitely
once you
repost
get
from
the
last year. Like I told you the other day, my favorite memory of recent is the days we got to spend at Universal and Disney, and just got to be kids. And that really is as much different as Tommy and I are. That's one of the things we shared is our love of things kids like, and I love that. And when you talk to him later today, just remind him, that he's my brother and I love him. And
I will 100%.
Yeah, we're praying for him, and he's definitely.
And we're praying for you, Sammy.
Yes.
As I told you yesterday, whatever I can do, I'm sure Scott feels the same way. We can do professionally, personally. Please don't hesitate to ask.
Also, San Diego Comic-Con, your booth will be set up, correct? You have people going out there to set up to be selling
Correct.
Tommy stuff.
Yeah.
So we want to
We are
give that.
still maintaining our presence.
Correct. So and you'll have the usual
Two
booth
good friends
location.
are going out and selling. Yep.
Good.
Booth 4823. We've been there for 10 years.
Yeah.
Not moving anytime soon.
Good. The legacy of Tommy Castillo will continue on. And I know Scott will be out there, so if something happens and you're out there too, I'm sure he'll find you. If not, we'll be down in Florida next month. We're going to plan on trying to come and see you.
Yeah.
And,
Okay, that'd be
visit.
great. I love that.
All right, and to donate, go to www.youcaring.com and search for Tommy Castillo and to find their fundraiser and donate whatever you can.
And anybody listening, just please help out because I know they could use the money and they're good people. And,
Definitely.
So, Sammy, love you. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you guys. Love you guys.
Thank
Talk
you.
to you soon.
See you soon.
All right.
Bye.
All right, and then to wrap up the show here because we are running out of time. Me and Brett, first of all, we want to thank Sammy for calling in because that was great to hear about their stories between her and Tommy. And these upcoming 2 weeks, we're on the road with Vegas Comic-Con and Amazing Vegas Comic-Con and Denver Comic-Con.
Yeah.
So that means next week we will not be in the studio. We are going to be replaying episode 4, which there was a technical difficulty at the time, so it never officially aired. So we have a great interview with Tracy Lee Coco from she was on some Star Trek episodes and things like
Yeah,
that. So
she was
tune in
with
next
Jay.
week for
Yeah.
that. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. Look us up on Odd Musing Show on
Yeah.
YouTube. And because me and Brett will be posting some videos from Vegas and Denver.
Yeah, we're gonna be in Vegas, baby. So we're gonna have some cool fun
That's
out there.
right. So everyone, thank you so much for listening. Please share this episode with as many people as you can to get the word out to help Tommy and Sammy out with what they're going through.
Yeah, because they do have mounds of medical
Yes.
bills right now. So
So,
definitely do that.
so thank you once again. And
Yeah, I think we're all set. So with that said, Dominic, you've been quiet. So go ahead and roll that outro music, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks, guys.
God bless.
Donovan doesn't have a mic.